9 p.m. Members of the public who have registered to speak by audio visual link on an agenda item are asked to keep their microphone muted and video off until I invite you to speak. Speakers will not be able to present material as part of their speaking time or share their screen. Everyone in this meeting is reminded to conduct themselves in a polite and professional manner. Keep communications factual, use appropriate language and tone. Do not use any defamatory or derogatory remarks. Defamation laws apply to addressees in public forum. I ask councillors to observe the requirements under the code of the meeting practice and meeting equity, including debate on an item which commence only once we have a mover and a seconder for the item other than the Mayoral Minute. The mover has the right of reply before the motion is put to a vote. Raise your hand to indicate you wish to speak, as I will determine the speaking order based on the hands and as I see them. On the commencement, you're speaking on a notice of motion or amendment. Please indicate clearly if you are speaking for or against for the motion or the amendment. Please ensure that you address the chair rather than the other councillors, staff and members of the public. For efficient conduct of this meeting, it is not necessary for you to repeat the matters you agree with and raised by a previous speaker. It is sufficient for you to say that you agree with the points raised. I remind all present that the video recording is an official record of council and may be made available to persons upon request in accordance with the Government Information Public Access Act 2009. No other recordings are permitted. Therefore, all present should ensure there's no video recordings or photographs taken. Acknowledgement of Country. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians, the Gredjala and the Binjili clan of the Eora Nation, and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging. The people of the Eora Nation, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and the land of our Mother Earth. I now ask Reverend Colin Watts from St. Stephen's Anglican Church at East Lakes to come and address us for the prayer. Thank you.
I'll lead us in prayer. O Lord God, through your Son Jesus, you have revealed your servant heart and have taught us that greatness is expressed through the service of others. So we thank you for our council members who have offered themselves in the service of our local community, and we pray that you might bless them in their endeavours. Grant them wisdom in their decision-making, fruitfulness in their discussions, and may they work together in harmony for the common good of the people of Bayside. Amen.
Councillors, before we deal with the council business agenda, I have a presentation to make tonight, and that's to acknowledge Mr. Hassan Rox Reader. Those who don't know Rox, I refer to him as Rox, is a local identity in the St. George football, and I'd like to present a certificate tonight to Rox to recognise his outstanding contributions to local football in the Bayside area. Rox's dedication, passion and unwavering commitment to Rockdale City Suns, who is unmatched, but not only for Rockdale City Suns, but all the other sporting clubs that are based in our city. He loves football and is very much a person that inspires the players. And I've seen over the last 2 years, particularly Rockdale City Suns have achieved a level they've never been able to achieve. And that's something that I would like to congratulate Rox on his incredible success. Just in the last 2 years, he was a grand finalist for the team, 2022 in the St. George Association. 2023, he was minor premiers. 2023, he delivered the Masso Cup to the Premier League. And 2023, he brought the team to the Champion of Champions. This man is a great inspiration to our youth of the area, and I congratulate him on what he's achieved, and I wish him all the best for next year. I'd like to call upon Rox to come up and take a photo with this certificate. It's long overdue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I stand tonight to congratulate you for recognising Rox. I know him as mostly Rox throughout my life, and you've summed it all up well in your Mayoral Minute. I just want to add it's a well-deserving award. He has always been committed to the local community and the wider community. He always served the community with dedication. His contribution to the community is unbelievable. And not only deserving this award, I believe, and I would like to nominate him when we have the Bayside Citizen Citizen Man of the Year. Yeah, I know, it's current. That's why I'm standing here
Yep.
to even nominate him if the GM takes note of that, or I can officially do it. Mr. Mayor, just a bit of a background. I've known Rox since he was a young kid playing soccer. I'm much older than him, but he looks much younger than me. So I've known him when he was a soccer player, then he became a coach, and then a lot of clubs were sort of after him for his services. Mr. Mayor, I've noticed one particular thing, that a lot of our youth that had issues or difficulties or problems, they would go and seek advice from Rox. Advice on guidance on what to do and so on. And he's always been wise in giving that advice, and I congratulate him and his family. They have contributed to the community so much, and well done, Rox. You deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Rox and your family are quite welcome to stay to listen to the debate. On this. Or go. But please, I ask if you want to stay. All right, next item, council, is an item that is a Mayoral Minute. We'll deal with apologies first. I've got a missed call from Andrew Sooners. As an apology. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've been off here for the last 2 days. If I can have someone move that apologies be accepted for Andrew, Councillor Fardell and Councillor Nagy, I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Declaration of interest. Does anyone have, oh, okay. All right, we'll go around the table. Councillor Curry.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in relation to 10.4, the Bayside Community Grants Program, one of the grant recipients is a charity that I'm involved in, but I'm going to stay in the chamber because it's done purely by an external panel that determines.
Yep, Councillor Morrison. Councillor Muscat. Councillor Fardell. Councillor Joe Jansen. Councillor Nagy. Councillor Greta. What did I say? Councillor Wada. Councillor Barlow. Councillor Mark Hanna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, item 12.1, which is the notice of motion regarding Bexley Heritage. I actually live in one of the streets that's been listed in that notice of motion, so I'm going to declare a significant non-pecuniary interest, and I will leave the chamber when that matter is considered.
All
Thank
right,
you,
no
Mr.
problem.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Douglas.
I would like to declare a non-significant non-pecuniary interest for item 11.4 BTC 23.128, which is the Riverside Drive Send Susie Time No Stopping restrictions, because I'm the founder of the Peaceful Bayside Action Group that's been campaigning for safer streets
And what about 11.3, councillor Douglas?
Thank you. It is on the screen, yes?
Yep, yep.
Thank you. 11.3 CWA 23024 Barton Park facilities. I declare a pecuniary interest on the basis that I live in a proximity to the park, and I will be leaving the meeting for consideration and voting on the matter.
Okay, councillor McDougall. Councillor Severett. I might declare, staff, 11.3, now that councillor Douglas has raised it, it's a less significant, but I live nearby, but I will be in the chamber. When I say nearby, about 6 streets away. Actually, 4 streets away. So it'll be less significant. I have no interest in the park, but less significant. But I live nearby. But I will be in the chamber. Sorry for the short notice. All right, I'll have someone move that those interests be declared, be recorded. Councillor Jansen, Councillor Muscat, I'll put it all in favour, so aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Next item is minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held on the 20th of September. If someone can move it, Councillor Naji. Do I have a seconder? Councillor McDougall. Any speakers? If not, I'll put it all in favour, so aye. Those against no, declare it carried. 6.2 minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of September. Moved by Councillor Naji. Do I have a seconder? Oh, Councillor Jansen. Any speakers? If not, I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Next item, councillors, is a mayoral minute in relation to the draft environmental impact statement released in relation to Western Sydney Airport. This document is over 1,000 pages, and it was released yesterday. And I'll ask the General Manager to just quickly have a summary of what our position will be.
Thank you through the chair. So this mayoral minute, as the mayor just mentioned, is in response to yesterday's release of the draft environmental impact statement for the $5.3 billion Western Sydney International Airport in Badgerys Creek. So you may wonder why we would be interested in something in Western Sydney. That report outlines the noise, social and environmental impacts, as well as the possible changes to flight paths for other Sydney airports, including Kingsford Smith Airport. The mayoral minute recommends that council conducts a detailed review of the environmental impact statement to identify any negative impacts to our community from the changes to Kingsford Smith flight paths. During this time, we'll also promote the EIS on our Have Your Say page to ensure that all residents have an opportunity to absorb the contents and to comment. The Mayor is also confirming that Council will provide feedback on the draft EIS via a written submission prior to the closing date, which is the end of January 2024.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillors, this is a very important issue. It's going to affect our residents of Carlton, Bexley, Marble Park, areas that have never had planes fly over their house. And I'm not sure about Mascot. I haven't had a chance to read the document. So I'm seeking the support for this mayoral minute for the staff, and if we have to employ a consultant to prepare a submission on our behalf to make sure that whilst I support Sydney second airport, that our residents are not disadvantaged in any way in terms of the flight movements. And that's the critical issue, because I must declare I live under the flight path, and Mr. Douglas lives under the flight path. it's something that we've got to ensure that we're not disadvantaged. When they built the second runway in the bay, we were always assured, along with Barrackville and the old Botany, was that all the flights would take off from the bay, and our area would only, particularly the third runway, would only be used in the event of winds, which I fully understand for safety reasons. So this was rather a shock that one of the reporters rang me yesterday and asked me if I knew about it, and I said no. We said there's 1,000 pages, so I'll be certainly reading up on it over the weekend to make sure, and then I value the comments from you, the councillors, and also the community, because we want to make sure that the government listens to us to make sure that we're not affected in any way in terms of aircraft noise. I welcome the opportunity if any councillor would like to speak on this. I know it's sudden, we don't have too much, but if not, I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Thank you. Now, what I'd like to deal with items of exception. If Councillor Curry, do you have any items?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to pull out 10.3, please.
Yep. Councillor Morrissey? No. Councillor Muscat? Councillor Fardell? Councillor Jensen?
Just item 10.4, please.
What was it, Joe?
10.4.
10.4, yep. Councillor Naji? Councillor Werner? Councillor Wada? Councillor Barlow?
10.1.
Yep. Councillor Hannah? Nothing? Councillor Douglas?
I'd like to pull out 10.8, 10.9, 10.10, 10.15, 11.2 CPE 23.029. There should also be a CPE 23.030 that seems to be missing from the paper. I'd also like to pull out BTC, 11.4 BTC 23.128.
Councillor, which was the last one?
11.4, which is the Bayside Traffic Committee,
Yep.
BTC 23.128.
Okay, yep. Councillor McDougall? Councillor Sedrak? I don't have nothing. All right, if I can have someone move that the rest of the business paper be adopted. Councillor Naji, seconded by Councillor Douglas. I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. All right. First item 10.1, Councillor Barlow.
Look, I only pulled it out because I feel it should never go through without us acknowledging the hard work of the finance team and the hard work of trying to balance our books. So that's the only reason I pulled it out, to congratulate them. And it is difficult. And the auditors, it's just so hard. And they've done such a great job in the whole time since we've been merged, and I believe that they deserve the acknowledgement.
Thank you. So, Councillor Barlow, you're moving it?
Yeah, I'm moving it.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hannah, any other speakers? If not, I'll put it all in favour side. Those against no, declare it carried. 10.3. Oh, we've got public comment, sorry. Sorry, I've been offline for 2 days. Oh, sorry. Okay, we have two speakers. The first speaker is on 10.9, which is Penny McMullen. Penny, please come up. Mr. McMullen will be speaking on notice motion, shorebird friendly zones, and speaking for the officer's recommendation. You've been allocated 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having me tonight to speak about the importance that Bayside Council provides greater protection to the shorebirds along our local coastline. So my name's Penny, and I'm on the Board of Directors for BirdLife Australia. which is Australia's largest birdwatching research and conservation organisation. For over a century, we've been leading advocates for native birds. I'm also a WISE volunteer, and I've actually met some of you here previously when I was rescuing a Pacific black duck that was suffering from botulism at Sir Joseph Banks Park. So firstly, I would like to congratulate and commend Bayside Council for passing the motion to explore how protection for shorebirds can be tightened and the progress that's already been made to date. We are incredibly blessed to have these migratory shorebirds here in Bayside. I'm hoping that some of you have been lucky enough to see them on the mudflats feeding. When I moved to the area, I just couldn't believe it when I was on my morning walk and I saw them. However, due to habitat destruction, hunting and disturbance, their populations have drastically declined. So the bar-tailed godwits that visit us here, they have to put on 70% of their body weight to fatten up to be able to make their annual migration to their breeding grounds. They can only feed at low tide when the mudflats are exposed, so twice a day. Sadly though, there is a lot of disturbance happening here on our shores. So for example, dogs are chasing them. So this is interfering with their feeding cycle. This has a significant impact on them and their chances of survival. The Council has a responsibility under the EPBC Act to provide protection for listed shorebirds. This includes the requirement to take reasonable steps to prevent contraventions of the Act. Within the response to Notice of Motion, there are many actions proposed. However, more needs to be done by Council to protect these incredible birds and ultimately support the recovery of their populations. So not only must Council implement the proposed actions, but I recommend the following. So number one, clear no dogs allowed signs need to be installed at every access point and or at regular intervals along where there's unlimited access to the beach. So for example, Dolls Point. The current signage is totally inadequate. So if you go down there, the signs are high up above your eye level. There's a lot going on the sign. There's a little prohibited dog symbol like this big with a line through it. No animals on beach. So the signs must be conspicuous and very prominently state that dogs are prohibited. Number two, rangers must complete regular patrols to enforce the prohibition of dogs and issue fines or seize animals during instances of breach, as provided under Section 14 of the Companion Animals Act. It isn't enough simply just putting up signs. So every time I go and visit these areas, there are many dogs running around on the beaches, the mud flats. Many are repeat offenders that are there every day. I've seen people encourage their dogs to chase the shorebirds, throw frisbees amongst them. So the main focus of the ranger patrols will be at low tide when it's their critical feeding time. Number three, bait collection should be discouraged on the mud flats as it is taking a precious food source. With the rate of development and destruction on the wetlands, shorebirds simply don't have alternatives. The intertidal mudflats of Bayside Council are excellent feeding habitats for the shorebirds. Dogs have other options, but shorebirds don't. For them, it's not a lifestyle choice, it's their survival. As a very concerned local, I want to protect these incredible shorebirds so future generations can enjoy observing them on our shorelines. I also expect that Council fulfills its responsibilities under the EPBC Act and not only provide better protection, but enhance their precious habitat. I'm sure you would agree, saving our species is worth doing everything in our power to achieve. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Well spoken. Thank you. All right, councillors, we're on 10.9, which is a response to notice of motion, the shorebird friendly zones. Would anyone like to move anything, or we just, the officer's recommendation? Are you moving it?
Could
Councillor Dodd?
I would like to make an amendment to the officer's recommendation, please. I've sent this through to the general manager and to Fausto, a series of 4 points for the committee. Ideally, what I would like is for this, I want to congratulate first the report that has come before council. I think this is a great step forward for protection of shorebirds in Bayside. But after consultation with community, I think it would be great to bring this before a committee and flesh out a few other aspects of the report before we finalise it as council.
Councillor Douglas, are you moving the printed recommendation and add in point 4?
I'm adding 4 more points that to be considered for the officers to consider before bringing it back to council committee.
Yep. All right, so you're moving it plus point 4?
Plus 4 more points.
4 more?
4 more points, which I have emailed to Fausto. Yeah, but they're a little bit long. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just going to get... Yep. It's okay. Oh, no, did you say you had 4 points?
Yeah, there are 4 points. Do you want me to read them out, or
Yeah.
Fausto is currently typing them. So they're really the 4 points from consultation with the community is that council includes a review of how it is responsible to provide protection of shorebirds under the EPBC Act as landholders. That's the first point. Council to consider an overarching conservation plan specific to the local government area for how it will address the conservation of shorebirds, levering the wildlife conservation plan for migratory shorebirds, including reviewing point 8.3, the anthropogenic disturbance, specifically noting recreational activities such as fishing, off-road, driving on beaches, unleashed dogs, that's meant to say not dots, and jet skiing as being problems. Point 3, investigate a wildlife protection area category 1, WPA1, being declared at landing lights, Sandringham Foreshore and Dolls Point Beach that bans dogs on and off leash. This will provide greater protection to the shorebirds. And finally, investigate if Bayside LEP could have a similar clause to the Georges River Council Clause 6.6, Foreshore Scenic Protection Area Objective 1E, to encourage the recovery of threatened species and their communities, population and habitat. There is nothing in Bayside Council LEP regarding recovery of threatened species. Georges River Council DCP has a much stronger review stating development cannot take place if it will have any adverse damage to existing marine environment, etc., whereas Bayside is only required to notify if likely to have an impact.
That covers all the 4 points?
Yeah, that's 4 points, thank you.
Do I, Councillor Jensen?
Through you, Mayor, can I ask how this may potentially overlap with the biodiversity plan, which we've already adopted to update next year? Because my understanding of that biodiversity plan, which is now going to be broadened out to a full LGA biodiversity plan, is that that plan did cover shorebirds and actions around shorebirds. So is there some overlap then with adding these additional points, and would the biodiversity plan cover this? Thank you.
All right, can I just ask, do I have a seconder? Councillor White, thank you. And if we can have a reply. Manager of Environment, Tom's in the gallery. Yeah, probably, yeah.
Through the Mayor, yes, I agree with the biodiversity strategy that we agree to review next year. We'll cover the shorebird protection as one of the items in the biodiversity strategy, which is with the current Rockdale biodiversity already include shorebird protections area, and that's going to be reviewed in the next in the new biodiversity strategy.
Councillor Jensen, are you happy with that response?
Yes, I'm happy with that response. So I would probably not support the additional amendments to the report because I've just seen them all come up, and I'd need time to actually absorb what they mean. And Councillor Douglas also did mention it after community consultation. I don't know whether that's her own community consultation but I feel confident that the biodiversity plan will cover those points.
It was, sorry, do you want to speak?
I'll call Councillor Wyndham.
Look, I just wanted to say, I think they're really great additions to that motion, and it does say that council investigates, the wildlife protection area, and also that council investigates if Bayside LEP could have a similar clause. So I think it doesn't really matter whether it overlaps or not. I think it's better to have both, just in case we miss something. And I think it's a really good idea to compare what we're doing with what councils in our area are doing, such as Georges River Council, and see if there's anything we can, anything additional that we can do for the shorebirds that isn't covered in the biodiversity strategy. So I actually think that we should keep these amendments. Thanks.
Councillor Douglas, it's been suggested that you may want to change it, that your points get considered at the next committee rather than endorsed by council. Yeah, we're developing the strategy at the moment, so rather than move it as 4 points, to have it incorporated for them to have a look at.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is a great idea that these 4 additional points be considered in the Bayside biodiversity strategy, and I would be happy to make that suggestion to, rather than being brought to committee, that they be covered in the process of the Bayside biodiversity strategy.
I think that's better.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
All right. Everybody is in agreement? Any other? Councillor Hannah?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I just wanted to thank the Speaker for coming along tonight, because I thought she spoke extremely well, and she didn't really make much reference to any notes. She winged it for the entire presentation. But a couple of things that she said are things that maybe we might be able to do at a much lower level fairly quickly. And I've got to say that I've just come back last week, late last week, from a week down at Vincentia, where I had to recharge my batteries and polish up on a few puns. And I noticed that along Collingwood Beach, they had 2 roped off, well signaged areas protecting shorebirds that were actually nesting. Now, the Speaker that addressed us tonight, and did so extremely well, mentioned that the signage that we had, she thought, was insufficient, and that the areas were not sufficiently bounded off. So what I'd like to suggest is that maybe there's a possibility we could do something much quicker and practical. This wasn't an expensive thing. All they did was basically put stakes in the ground, and they roped it off, and they had plenty of signs all around to say, keep out, shorebirds nesting, keep your dogs out, and all that sort of thing. So I just wanted to throw that into the mix to see whether that was possible, just to get that up and running straight away rather than waiting for more reports and all that. Thank you, Mr.
I'll
Mayor.
ask Deborah to say a few words.
Through you, Mayor, the signage that we've produced for the shorebirds is currently being installed. I'll check with my manager that that's the case. The production of it is certainly well underway. And as you will hear at next week's Community Services Committee, City Services Committee, we are focusing on shorebird protection as part of the Summer Foreshore program this year, which is why we wanted the signage in place. And we've got the shorebirds on all of the branding for Summer Foreshore program, and we are educating the public through that program as well.
Oh, Councillor Morrison.
I just, I'm always one on timing, so I heard the words next year and biodiversity strategy. What's that? What's this next year mean? Can we put a time frame?
Through you, Mayor, the biodiversity strategy is scheduled to start as early in the new year. So the environment team have scheduled it for January, February to commence work.
And how long will that take approximately?
Could I ask the manager? 6 months, 6 months in total. Yeah. Which is why we thought that we should get started on the shorebird protection program, because clearly it's an issue that the community is very passionate about and we're concerned about.
Cool. Okay, hopefully we say 6 months maximum, and then as part of our updates to councillors, we'll see that on the list, and as it's progressing, just grammatically there, an unleashed dot is probably, that's going to go rogue if you don't put a leash on that dot.
Any other speakers? If not, you have the right to reply, Councillor Douglas.
Yeah, and I just want to thank the Speaker, Ms McMillan, for raising these important issues for Bayside and showing such care for our community and for our non-human life as well. So thank you, and for coming tonight while you're heavily pregnant, as you mentioned. So a big effort, and thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Thank you, Penny, for coming. Next item, councillors, is 12.1, which is the notice of motion, Bexley Heritage. We have one speaker, Mr. Andrew Andropoulos, who's interested resident speaking for the motion. If you please come up.
Good evening, all. I'm a local resident in Bexley, live in Hancock Street, Bexley, which is close proximity to Bexley Oval. We live in a beautiful area with nice character homes. But in the last 2 years, I've been quite amazed at the number of Federation homes that have been knocked down in the area. And quite amazed as well that they haven't been protected. My background, I'm actually a real estate agent, so I'm not against development. There's good development in certain areas, and in a positive note, there's been some good development by Bayside Rockdale Council in the last 20 years. But I just feel that walking in the area in the last 2 years, we're losing our character. You got this beautiful oval, Bexley Oval, and you got all these surrounding streets, Salisbury Street, Doonan, and all I see is these awful duplexes being built at the moment. We're just knocking down all these heritage, beautiful character homes. I don't see it solving the housing crisis. I'm in the real estate industry for the last 30 years. You see a lot of families that want to buy these homes being knocked out by developers. New people come in. You see all the new Mercedes wagons, all these prestige cars. I've worked in different areas under the Inner West Council, Randwick Council. I see in those areas they protect their character homes, but for some reason in the last 20 years, none of these homes have been protected. And I just want to see, when does it stop? Are we going to annihilate every single home in these streets around Bexley Oval and have not one Federation home left? And is this the right path of the council going forward?
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you for your time. We're on 12.1, notice of motion. Who would like to speak on it?
My name was left off, it was actually 2 people on it originally, so I don't know what happened to my name, but I'm happy to move it and I'll talk to it.
All right, do I have a seconder? Councillor Douglas? All right, Councillor Barlow?
I was going to wait for someone else.
Oh,
I just wouldn't mind making a couple of small amendments to the motion before Councillor Barlow takes the floor. The first one being the 4-month aspect in the point 1 is unrealistic, so if we could remove that, I say within 12 months, I think was the more realistic suggestion. And this adding a third point being that we allow the current community consultation about suggested heritage areas to complete before commencing any other heritage area consideration.
yeah,
Is that an accurate reflection? I think makes that more achievable.
Peter, would you like to comment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, that time frame is something that we could manage. I think the report does say that it would require an allocation of budget to undertake the work as well, so it would be dependent on having the resources available as well.
Councillor Naji?
Mr. Mayor, I thought this council on many occasions, going back to 2004 till present, that we've had so many consultants going around the area and saying that this area is an area that should be heritage. And we did one not long ago, and I had to declare an interest because it was in my street, so I didn't vote. But the thing that surprises me, I don't know if these councillors who recommending these have been to those streets, because those streets already, there's a precedent already set that there are 2-story homes that they have developed. People have their right to develop their homes, and that's probably why the council's heritage consultant did not identify these streets to be heritage. I'm just worried that we're just going to keep getting the council to keep doing work and work and work and not concentrate on the main objective that us councillors want to deliver to the community, which the council has already been through that process. Going back to my conservative area where I live, and I'm not, no conflict of interest because I did not vote on it. If you go into Lansdowne Street, you will see that they're already double-story homes. And not only that, Mr. Barber can maybe give his comments on that. If you drive in Lansdowne Street, there's a 2-story house with neon lights all around it. So you can identify that house from a kilometre away. But they have made it as a heritage area. Fair enough. That's democracy, that's how it goes. But again, if you go into those streets and have a look, it's already set, it's a precedent. Now, I don't know, Mr. Barber, through you, is that possible where it already set a precedent in those streets that have 2-story homes and so on to come to other properties in the area and tell the landowners, I'm sorry you guys, this is now going to be heritage? Is that fair in the planning department? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have 2 levels of heritage protection in our LEP. So one is individual heritage items, so we can pick out individual properties and list them. And the other is conservation areas, which is what we're talking about tonight. Generally, conservation areas are areas that are fairly intact and that still retain that heritage character. So you generally wouldn't list areas where there's been a lot of change, but you might list some of the individual buildings as heritage items. Because we don't have conservation areas in a lot of these streets at the moment, there's no reason for council not to approve new style buildings in there, and that's why the character of some of them has changed.
Councillor Ward.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, look, I'll start by saying I will never support these sort of notices of motions. I mean, as if you've read the report and you've read the GM's comments on there, we've already done a review of potential heritage in 2019, and none of these streets here were included in that review. Now, I can't believe that a motion is brought to council to have your property listed on the heritage list, and you wake up in the morning and that property is probably worth a lot less, and then
Excuse me, sir.
and the speaker that
Sir, you're not
spoke.
allowed- sorry, Councillor Ward. Sir, please, you spoke. You can't interject in the debate. Right. No. Sir, so
Mr. Mayor, point of
respectfully,
order, I need him to, I'm not a pro-developer. I've never developed in my life, and I don't develop, and I'm not a pro-developer.
so I
I
was.
just speak from
sorry,
the heart, so I
yeah.
need that gentleman to apologise, because the only people that have spoken is myself and Councillor Wada. So I need an apology and withdraw those comments, please.
Now, I'm just wondering with the speaker why Hancock Street wasn't actually included on there. I'm not a pro-development, but I do we live in a democracy where people are allowed to redevelop their properties. So if someone buys a house and wants to build a duplex, good luck to them. We're not going to stop people from redeveloping. And as we hear on the news on a daily basis, there's shortage of properties. Now, that's irrelevant in this case, but for someone to be forced into listing their property, and if you recall, Mr. Mayor, a while back, someone who lived on Wollongong Road, he had his property listed on the heritage list, and he didn't want it listed. And he had to fight, I can't remember exactly, for so many years to get it off the heritage list. He worked so hard, and I think most of us here, the councillors that were here at the time, would listen. That person had to fight so hard to get it off the heritage because he didn't want it in the first place. Now, I can't see how we can dictate to have properties in those 13 streets, potential heritage, as it says in the report, to force them to put them on the heritage list. I did have a few calls. I had literally about 5 calls saying, how can council vote on us not wanting to have our properties listed on heritage? Have we consulted every single property in those streets? We haven't. Now, even if we do consult, the majority will resist having their property listed on a heritage list. So I will never support it now, and I will never support it in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just clarify something? This is not heritage listing individual items. This is a heritage conservation area. Botany, I will congratulate the former mayor for 30 years who did some wonderful work in conservation areas. And I remember we had a presentation from John Cole saying that you're fighting something on Botany Road, and he said, we are lucky because you have got this conservation area. We can go to court and we can fight. We've got something behind us to say, no, you can't do this. But I will finish, I won't speak finally, but it is not heritage listing. It is actually protecting a whole area. You can still do all you can do renovations. They've got to be sympathetic. If you go down Dunmore Street, you will see amazing renovations. Now, they're in the proposed heritage conservation area. It is not, it is there to protect the whole area. It is not there, you're saying a heritage listed house. Okay, they are protected. I took the mayor to a house opposite me. He still, I don't think, can get over the fact of what a single fronted cottage is now, a 4-bedroom house. Luckily they had the land falling the right way, and he could not believe it. So it is amazing what you can do, and you can preserve what you've got. I mean, I'm in an old weatherboard, but it's mine. It's falling down. I mean, it looks okay. Garden looks great, really good. It's 1913. So it's not about destroying the area. You can still fit things in there, but it is a wonderful, some of those streets are nearly intact. And it's the fact that he's got us somewhere along the line, we have to start protecting our heritage. I mean, if you look at, I just get fascinated with houses from overseas, how old they are. We've got nothing, virtually nothing. So we are only proposing this. It's got a long way to go from that, but it's a matter of looking at to the future and protecting what we have or what we've got left. And we've got a heritage item, which is Bexley Oval. There's some item, I think there's a few streets. You know, so it's not about listing individual houses. It's trying to protect an area. You can put other houses there, but it's got to be that it's got to be not sympathetic, but fit in. There's some in Dunmore Street that everyone actually went, oh my God, look at these. But they actually do sort of fit in. They're on a dual lock and another corner site. I think it's one on each street. But anyway, look, that's what it's protecting the area, I hope.
Thank you. Councillor, Councillor Werner.
Thanks. Look, I think this is a really worthwhile motion and I'd like to support it. I think it's really worthwhile to investigate. I mean, this is just saying to investigate whether to make this a conservation area. I think that it's in the public interest because I think future generations will be very glad for any of our heritage that we're able to conserve. So I just think it's really worthwhile investigating. If it doesn't go ahead, it doesn't, but I think it's really worth looking into and, you know, for future generations. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Naji.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to pinpoint information that what Councillor Wada mentioned about a property in Wollongong Road. It's true. It happened on our watch. The gentleman, and Councillor Wada knows who he is, the gentleman listed his property to be heritage listed because the council was giving $2,000 grant per year to upgrade or do whatever, painting, whatever. As soon as council stopped that, he wanted to delist his property from heritage, and it was a bit tough, but it went through council and we all had to vote for it. Now, the gist what I'm not against any heritage, Mr. Mayor, but the point I was trying to make, that if our council, led by the GM and by the good department in each department, have spent money. We review heritage on a constant basis and it cost us money. And they haven't come up to list this area as thing. But now the councillors that complain about wasting council's money, ratepayers' money, want another consultant or another investigation to go through it. Well, why can't we wait for the review, what we normally do? And maybe, Mr. Mayor, through you, the GM, can tell us how often we do a review on heritage. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm just don't want to waste council's money if we've already had our own heritage consultant. Whether we liked it or not, they came back with a report and said, this area is a conservative conservation area for heritage. These houses should be listed for heritage. This is significant, state significant. This is non-state significant. Are we, these councillors that bring in this notice of motion, which they have every right to do, are telling us that we get it wrong? We spend money to these consultants and we're getting it wrong? Stop grandstanding. Be realistic. This costs money. This costs money.
Point of order, Mr. Councillor.
Yeah,
Councillor Naji's already spoken before.
I was speaking against our speaking for.
Continue,
Yeah,
Councillor
I
Naji.
used to do, you learnt something from me.
Councillor Naji, keep going. Oh. All right. Any other speakers? Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sort of stuck with this one. I'm on the fence in that I'm supportive of the principle of heritage conservation areas. I'm big on heritage gardens, heritage property, the individual listings, etc. I'm supportive of number 3 here, which was the amendment that the current consultation's concluded and then we continue consultation with the impacted residents. There's a significant proportion of our residents across Bayside and particularly in these areas who have no idea we're talking about this right now. They have no idea. They're not engaged, and that's fine, but there's a small, we accept that. So I don't know how we can make a decision provide that strategic direction as a council or body to go and investigate points on a map that will have significant impacts on the people within that. So if somebody comes to us, as in that example, and I wasn't here at the time, and say, I want to voluntarily list this, I've got a beautiful bungalow, beautiful house, garden, whatever it might be, and I want to be on this list, and we should look at that and make a decision, or whoever needs to make that decision on its merits. But to actually throw so many people who are not engaged with council, and then the rumour mill will start, and it's very, very, there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding with neighbours and friends and over the fence and at the pub, in the park, and at the mothers group, and at the dog on leash areas, at the beach, and they'll all start to talk about council heritage listing, and Councillor Barlow made the point, it's not individual listing, but that's the belief. So I can't support this in its current form, and I won't be supporting it. What I would support is concluding the current consultation and then extending that to new areas where, to Councillor Awada's point, go and contact the people who will be impacted by that decision, whether it's door to door and or in writing, and say, hey, this is a proposal that's come into council, give us your thoughts, come and speak, whatever it might be. But I don't think we can just put a box around these areas and say, we're going to go and investigate this, because so many people are impacted by it, many in a negative way, some in a positive way, but many in a negative way. And they don't even know we're having this conversation. So supportive of point 3, but if it stays in its current form, I can't support it. Thank you.
Councillor Douglas?
Could I just ask a few questions? So the first question is that Councillor Naji said that there was an ongoing review process of conservation areas in Bayside. I was hoping through the chair to find out some information about that ongoing continual review process of heritage areas, because I actually hadn't heard about that before. That's my first question. I reserve the right to ask some more questions.
Mr. Barber?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Council has undertaken a number of reviews over the years. The first one from memory was 1991, and that was a comprehensive review that was done by the then Rockdale Council. Since then, the findings of that review and others done since have been reinvestigated, I guess, if you like. In the 2019 study, a review was really going back over all the work that had been done previously and I guess mining that for areas that could be potentially heritage conservation areas. So there hasn't been a sort of on-the-ground study done for some time, but there's been reviews of previous reviews done between 1991 and 2019, essentially. Yeah, the contents of those studies, I'd have to go back and have a look at to see exactly how detailed they were. But we haven't done an on-the-ground study for some time.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm hearing from that is the original study was done in 1991, which is quite some time ago, I would say 32 years ago. And our values as a society change in that time. What we might have valued in 1992 or 1984 or 1971 will be different to what we value in 2023, especially when we are losing heritage areas. And I think also now we've also seen other areas like Haberfield, Leichhardt, areas that have protected their heritage actually raise in value. They raise in esteem from the rest of the community. If we don't preserve what we have left, we will just have a lot of concrete duplexes with zero character. They will have no tree canopy space. We are losing the amenity of history here of that conservation. And I think that would be a detriment to Bayside. I think that if we've done a review in 1991 and then constantly reviewed that review, let's open the door for some extra investigation that reflects the more modern approach that we have, not just be stuck in 1991. And I would just say to Councillor Morrissey's point, I'm not sure what the difference is between this investigation and what he's putting forward. So an investigation would still provide an opportunity for community consultation. It would still provide that go and knock on the door and ask people what they think. I'm not sure what the other lever would be to start that process, if not this motion. And that's a question through the Mayor. What would the other levers be for a community consultation where we would knock on the door to discover heritage areas, if not this motion?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, generally heritage studies or reviews are initiated by the council of the area. There may be some occasions where the Heritage Office or another government agency might direct council to do it, but they are generally initiated by the council.
So what I'm hearing there is if we don't actually investigate, if we don't initiate an investigation, there will be no knocking on doors and there will be no leadership from council. This is the mechanism we have at our disposal for leadership. I don't understand what kind of mechanism Councillor Morrissey is suggesting if this is the only one we have. So, you know, in conclusion, I think that we really need to look forward, not be stuck in 1991, and look at this area with fresh eyes. There's been many residents who have moved here since 1991. There will be many more generations of Bayside residents who will have a different sentiment to what we had in 1991. I think there is no harm in, instead of suggesting up an investigation. We've heard from the community tonight. We've heard from one passionate representative of the community. We've also heard from councillors who themselves are in the building industry and maybe haven't properly declared full conflicts of interest tonight as well, which I find quite concerning that we would hear from a negative point of view from somebody.
Councillor
who is
Douglas, hang on,
declaring
slow
that.
down. You've just made a comment about building. I respectfully ask you to withdraw it.
Well, I would like to, I think
It's
a
got
fair
nothing to
point.
do with this. Councillor Douglas, you should not be raising the issue of their employment in relation to this debate.
I'm sorry, but when I have raised, where there's been items on the agenda around renewable energy, I have
No, I
raised
specifically
my
asked you to
workplace
withdraw
as
that
a
comment
conflict of
because you-
interest, and I have consulted with the Officer for Governance on that matter. So I find it quite surprising when we're talking about an issue which is directly related to building, the people
No, but
whose
it's got nothing
profession
to do with-
is as a builder had not declared that as a conflict of interest.
It's not, no. Councillor Douglas, there's two items on the business paper tonight in relation to financial situation. Councillor Morrissey and I work for banks. Okay, why didn't you guys raise it? Why didn't you raise it then? and
I think
say-
that's a different matter.
Yeah, no. It makes reference to finances where I think our bank, Westpac, has term deposits from this council. Whilst we don't have a direct conflict, we don't have a direct interest in it. No one's ever raised it. We have two bankers here. But in relation to the councillors that you're referring to, okay, I respectfully ask you that they're not developers. I'm not sure how you come up with the conclusion. I find it, I actually would like you to withdraw that statement in relation to making reference to employment I'm not aware of any, Councillor Naji's got a chicken shop. It's not a chicken shop. No, but he's not a developer. No. I respectfully ask you. No, it's not. No, well, you've got other avenues. You shouldn't have, well, you've tainted the water by questioning the councillor's thing there. So I just would have preferred you not to make any reference to councillor's employment on it. So this is your right of reply, so continue.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Councillor Naji.
I think that the name of Councillor Wada was mentioned, and we all know about this motion that there is no conflict of interest. So through you to the governance to make a ruling in that. If there is no conflict of interest, she needs to withdraw those comments and apologise to Councillor Wada. And that is the right thing to do. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the governance, does Councillor Wada need to declare a conflict of interest on this motion.
Mr. Fausto?
Thank you. So on that basis, again, Mr. Mayor, through you, I need an apology for Councillor Awada. I'm surprised he's still sitting down, not reacting. He's so calm. And to retract those comments, Mr. Mayor. It's important because I'm not going to throw in defamation or anything. That is important to retract and apologise to Councillor Awada. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Najib. Councillor Douglas?
Yes, I will apologise for that. I was speaking from the perception of the public that there are sometimes not everything that could be declared is declared. So that was the perceptions that have been raised with me.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
I'll just,
Point of order. How could a councillor come here and tell us what other people are thinking? I don't know. There's no perception about conflict of interest. He's actually not a developer. And I'll get Councillor Awada to explain that. So enough is enough.
I think, Mr. Mayor, I don't have to explain nothing. That's why I'm so calm. But since Councillor Douglas has said about reception, Councillor Douglas should have done her homework before she made that sentence. I don't even need to have her make an apology because I don't really care what she said. I don't care about the comments she made. What Councillor Douglas doesn't realise, when I got elected in 2004, when Chris Watson was the general manager, I informed Mr. Watson that I would not be doing any work. I'm not a developer. I'm a project manager with a Bachelor of Project Management from UTS. That's different. Now, I said to Chris and for the people that are watching and for the accusation that Councillor Douglas is making, just to make it very clear, since 2004, I've made a decision not to work or do project management in the former Rockdale or Bayside Council. If I have any declaration of interest to make, I'll be the first one to stand up and make it. I have a reputation, not only in council, in the whole community, that I would always be doing the right thing. I have never, ever not declared interest on something that I have to declare interest on. So I don't need an apology. It's an accusation that Councillor Douglas made a mistake for not really thinking about what she was saying. So I just wanted to make it clear that I'm not a developer, I'm not a builder, I'm a project manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Awada. Councillor Douglas, can I just ask you again to seriously consider apologising with no conditions in relation to, because you've made assertions in relation to, whilst I understand Councillor Awada isn't interested in the apology, but can I just tell you, in terms of the reputation of this council and what Councillor Awada said in relation to work, that's true. It's true. I know firsthand he won't do any work. He wouldn't do any work for me to renovate my bathroom. He said, I do not do any work in Rockdale. It's true what he just said. And that way there's never an accusation. I again plead with you. You've cursed this person in relation to Councillor Awada, but can I just tell you, if you checked, the Australian Labor Party does not endorse any developers or real estate agents to run for council. And that's why he's not a developer on it. And all I can say is, again, plead with you to apologise unreservedly with no strings attached to it, because what you said is not correct.
I actually am very glad this has come up, because I think it's great that Councillor Awada has cleared the air and made this public statement, which is very clear, it's very on the record. So any muddied waters are 100% cleared. And I do apologise to Councillor Wada if I had the wrong perceptions. I hadn't heard that statement before. So I think it's a very valuable asset to have provided the community, Councillor Wada.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Segrett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'll be brief. There's been a lot of discussion. I want to thank the Speaker for coming forward. Those streets are beautiful. There's a lot of Federation homes on these streets. I could see how sensitive this is. This is a very sensitive issue. When you come into someone's street and say, we'd like to make it heritage or Federation or, I think it's a topic that needs a little bit of discussion and debate. My issue and my concern, wholeheartedly, with all respect, is that this motion puts a handful of streets and says, let's look at them for heritage. Now, as genuine as that is, what about the streets next to that? What about the streets behind that? What about the streets in Arncliffe? What about the streets in Banksia? What about Mascot? What about? And I know we're only looking at Bexley here. I think to go forward, and I did a little bit of research myself. I spoke to our director, Mr. Barber, about this, a little bit about this and how sensitive this can be. I asked the mover and the seconder, maybe that we could look at this going forward. Maybe we could discuss this in an information session through the GM. I don't know if this is possible through you, Mr. Mayor. If this could be discussed, maybe we look at other avenues, other ways. I understand the intent, but we can't, like what's been said by Councillor Nagy and Morrissey, and Nawada, you can't just walk in there and say, you know what, we're making it all heritage and that's it. And I get it, there's a consultation process and there's a 12 months investigation, and fair enough. And like the Director of City Futures has said, this is going to take a lot of time and resources, and fair enough, it should. But I think what would be nice is that we sit down again, let's note this out, let's get some more further advice, let's understand what other people are doing, and then let's put some things forward. So at the moment, how it sits, I think it would be unwise of us to just say, yes, I'm for those streets that are there, yeah, let's put them up on the map and that's it. I think that would be immature of us just to choose those streets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a clarification, I'm not speaking, Mr. Mayor, because Mr. Barber mentioned 1991 and 2019. Just out of curiosity, Mr. Barber, when we did the LEP review, wasn't heritage on there as well for the review?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there wasn't a comprehensive review done for the 2021 LEP. There were some corrections made, so the schedule was reviewed in terms of its accuracy, but that was largely a consolidation exercise. There was no review done as such.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor McDougall, you haven't spoken.
Thank you. So it sounds like we haven't actually had an on-the-ground review since 1991, and I'm also hearing that it costs a lot of money to investigate this on the ground, to have an actual physical investigation of the built environment there. So I actually think it makes more sense to listen to the community who live there, and we've had a member of the community tell us about how important this area is. So when members of the community come forward and bring us these suggestions, why don't we then do these areas, investigate these areas one at a time, because doing all of Bayside at once would be too expensive. So I think we should listen to the community who are bringing this to us and take the opportunity to do this investigation. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor, Councillor McDougall. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Director of City Futures, what's the rough cost of engaging a heritage consultant to do one of these studies on, say, an individual street? Ballpark on Highworth Avenue.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. To look at an area like this, like a part of a suburb, I guess, or a number of streets, We haven't done this kind of work for a while, so it's a fairly rough estimate. I think it would be in the range of 50 to 100,000.
Thank you. Look, I'm generally quite supportive of maintaining our area's heritage. I supported the heritage conservation areas when they went up previously, I think on Gibbs and Far Street. The Brighton Parade at Brighton Les Sands, a couple of others. I don't in general, unlike my colleague Councillor Water, I don't in general oppose them, but I understand he has a perfectly valid view on this. But I do think in the past we've done quite a bad job consulting on these. I know a number have fallen over in the past because we haven't just gone and asked residents what they think before engaging in these studies. I mean, I think it's a pretty simple proposition to put along a street and say, here's the general idea of a heritage conservation area. Are you interested in pursuing us further? Like, I disagree with Councillor Douglas on this. I don't think this is the only mechanism to go forward with, to say we're going to prepare a heritage study to propose a heritage conservation area and get a planning proposal ready. I think we can be a bit more sensitive about this, to be honest. I wouldn't, oppose in principle the idea of we ask all of these streets whether they're interested in this on a street-by-street basis. But I think jumping ahead, and particularly on the number of streets, I don't think it's particularly sensible. And I absolutely respect the views of the local resident here tonight. If everyone on these streets, the majority of people support this occurring, I think we should do it. And I would be quite happy to support it. But I think it makes a lot more sense to ask the question first and be respectful of the residents on these streets before we leap in and say, let's prepare a planning proposal and ultimately spend ratepayers' money doing that work.
All right, thank you, Councillor Dougal. Councillor Barlow, you've got the right of reply.
I just wanted to see if I was hearing that correctly, because I do think that there was a sense of unity that then came forth in the council from those wise words from Councillor McDougall. What I'm hearing is that that the council does a survey, a community survey on these areas first to ascertain the temperature of a heritage of the conservation order in the same way that we do surveys for other hooning issues on safe streets. Would that summarise what I'm hearing?
I think just to point 3, I would agree with first. I'd have to say, though, that we should conclude the other work that's currently undergoing before pursuing this, in my opinion. But I do want to just pick up on some other points that were raised, because I think Councillor Werner said that future generations would appreciate if we conserve our heritage. But as in many cases, we're dealing with competing priorities, right? I think future generations would also enjoy somewhere to live. And, I might point out that I'm, half a generation younger than the next youngest person in the room. People do, my age and younger, people my age and younger, housing affordability, housing supply is a serious issue, and it's just only getting worse. Our 1991's a good reference here. Did Jenny? No, just about. But the population of Sydney was 2/3 of what it is today. We are dealing with massive levels of population growth. And I just want to point out that I think the idea, and I'm not saying this is the case here, but using heritage to restrict development comes with a cost. It comes with a cost to our society. It is definitely a balancing act. We do need to make sure we preserve heritage character and features, but I think taking a scattergun approach like this, I was just having a quick look at some of these streets. I'm vaguely familiar with the area, but on many of them, it's sort of and they're lovely houses, right? I think Federation architecture is great. But, on some of these streets, it's every second house. Does that qualify as a heritage conservation area? I think there's a bit of, there is some more preliminary work to be done before just going, all right, all around Bexley Park, we're putting a block on that. I just think there is more work to be done here.
All right, thank you, Councillor Barlow. You have the right of reply.
I'll just clarify a few points. It's I'll say I'm the oldest person in the room, but I'm the second longest serving councillor. And I wasn't on council when the heritage list was brought up to council. It did start in 1991. It was thrown out with a full chamber in 1994. The Cass and Walker study, absolutely thrown out. I think there's only 2 or 3 Lake Rowan Rathbone was one, Steve Holroyd, Anfield. I think they're the only ones that supported it. Now, Councillor for Nafsi is the only one that can confirm that. So we went back to square one and we started again. And we started with the Victorian houses. We finally got that through. Then we went to Federation. We had another one, I think, on stone cottages. So we had to go back to nothing, paid a lot of money for the Cass and Walker study, and we had to start going incrementally through. We've never done anything else since then, and it is, and I'll declare an interest. I ended up on council because of it, losing some Victorian terraces in Carlton, courtesy of the late Ron Rathbone, which is, it's now a park, but you know, it's not about, to me, it's about preserving an area, and I don't think people realise how much a street looks with the trees as well as the complementary houses. And if you look at Salisbury Street, which is quite intact or reasonably intact, but opposite them is the most amazing renovation you could ever see, which is Victoria House. And if anyone goes past there, you stop. You will not believe what was done there by the grandson of the person that built the house. Italy had a lot of money to do it, but Councillor Savinovsky knows the house, I'm sure, and it is amazing. So it's just, but that's, I'm happy to move that we actually go out, what was...
Point 3.
To go out to survey the area. And the reason those streets were picked, because it's in a triangle, it's not, the other one that's coming up to council is Ocean View Estate, which is you've actually reduced 2 streets that should be there. I don't know how that happened, but so I'm happy to just say we'll move that we have a survey in the surrounding streets. And it is quite intact and it is surrounding a heritage item. So that's what I'm hoping. So I'll move that.
Point 3.
Sorry?
Councillor Butler, point 3 is council allows current community consultation of the heritage areas to be included before the commencement of any other heritage conservations or considerations.
Before the commencement of any other, hang on. I can't hear you.
Everything except point 3. So I was directed. So are you moving point 3? Yeah. All right, everybody, it's clear. We're only going to deal with point 3. That's true. All right, so we're taking out point 1, and then point 2 becomes 1, and then point 3 becomes 2. Okay, in relation to point 2, just so we're all clear, all we're doing is seeking their views. We're not forcing anything. Would that be correct? Whatever a normal process is, that will occur. Hmm? Yeah. All right, everybody clear on that? Could have done this an hour ago. We've got to listen to Scott. Okay. All right, I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against? Okay, and if Councillor White's name can be recorded against it, I'll declare it carried. Thank you. All right, now we're back onto the agenda, which is 10.3, which is Draft Domestic and Family Violence Action Plan for Adoption. Councillor Curry? It's been moved and seconded by Councillor Morrissey. Any discussion? Councillor Curry?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this has been a really important piece of work that council's undertaken, and it's the Domestic and Family Violence Action Plan has turned out to be a really good strategy. We must remember that, you know, according to the data from the Department of Social Services in 2022, there were 620 incidences of domestic and family violence in 2021 in Bayside. In the last year, we've lost 3 women from our community to domestic and family violence. So it's vital. We all play a role in doing something to stop domestic and family violence. And this report has been around a couple of times, but I'd really like to thank the community and the organisations that work in this space who contributed to feedback on 2 occasions to really strengthen this action plan and make sure that we really incorporated things that would not only increase awareness, but also provide education, and then also provide important actions that start to have an impact within our community. So I want to thank staff as well who've come up with a really effective, well-articulated program, which we can all be really, really proud of. And some of the things that are really important, we've got the walk on Saturday the 25th of November at Ramsgate. I encourage all councillors and our community to come down and participate. And I thank the St George Pack as well for their involvement last year, and again for coming on board this year. It's really important that we take a stand and say a strong no to violence of any form. I'd also, I'm really proud of the work on the Memorial Garden. I went and had a look at it yesterday, and it just looks absolutely amazing. And as part of the action plan, we're going to be holding a vigil there for our community, for people that, you know, want to come and they've lost someone, or they just want to remember the people that have been lost in our community. And I think the GM, you mentioned something about the 7th of December, so I'm sure we'll have that date this week. And the other thing that I'd really like to see, and it's in the action plan, is we've committed to having signs on the back of all our amenity doors. So all our public toilets in parks and things like that, where people can make contact with the support services, because sometimes it's simply as it being there. What does a positive relationship look like? If I feel like if I'm not in that, where can I go to for help? So that's committed to be undertaken by December this year. So I look forward, which is really important, because Christmas is a time when violence can increase. So it's really important that action gets done. And then I look forward to, as council continue to roll out everything in the action plan. So thank you to everybody that contributed. It's a really great piece of work. Thank you.
Any other speakers?
I
Councillor
just want to thank Councillor Curry for her leadership on this issue. I think it's something of deep importance to our community. And, when I started campaigning on safe streets for Bayside as a community member, I was told that the reason that we don't have as much policing is because on their streets to deal with hoons is because of the high levels of domestic violence in the area which take precedence. That's a shocking realisation that that is such a big issue for our community. It's behind closed doors, and I really just respect the fact that you've really driven this, Councillor Curry, to best practice. The council has been recognised for this work as well, more broadly, and we now have this vigil coming up to recognise. We had some horrific things happen just even in this term of council, as well as what's happening more broadly in Australia, which is basically, it's a silent war against women, unfortunately. And I think that it takes strong female leadership in our community to really bring that to light and start address that. So I really thank you for your work, Councillor Curry. And also, of course, the staff who've gotten behind that and done that work. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, Councillor Douglas. I didn't mean to mention that, and you're right, that council did win a honourable mention for the work on that action plan, and that's been recognised as well by other councils who, once this is endorsed tonight, have asked for a copy so they can use it as a template. Not just councils, but other organisations as well, so that then they can adjust it to their own strategic plans and needs. So thanks for reminding me.
Okay, thank you. Councillors, before I put it, I just want to also echo my thanks, Councillor Curry, for your commitment and drive on this very, very, very important issue in our community. And congratulations, you've done. I congratulate you for bringing this issue in light, and this council is always committed to promote the action plan, and it's because of your actions and your leadership that you've completed on it, and I congratulate you and ask the community and also the councillors to get behind this. It's a very important issue. I know of two families that have had a very violent family situation, and my heart goes out to all the people that that are involved in violence. And the hardest thing is, councillors, these two families that I knew, they were afraid to speak out. They were very scared, and it's hard trying to tell people to speak out. There is support groups out there that will help you, but the greatest fear is speaking out on it. And I commend you again, Councillor Curry, for your tremendous work on that. I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against, no. I declare it carried. Next item is 10.4, which is the 2023-24 Bayside Community Grants Program. Councillor Jansen. Moved by Councillor Jansen, seconded by Councillor Morrissey. Any speakers?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to pull this one out to highlight once again the important work that this program achieves. It's not a lot of funding, but the staff administer the program very well. And so far in this financial year, there have been, I think, or the report indicates that in the first part of the year there were 54 applications, this round 32, so that's 89. That's a lot of applications. Out of that, there's 49 recipients, so it shows that these local not-for-profits and community organisations really need this funding. They don't receive a large amount of funding, but they maximise it to the nth degree, and they achieved some amazing programs. So just a big congratulations once again to staff for administering this very important program.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm 1,000,000% supportive of it. Any other speakers? If not, I'll put it. All in favour, say aye. Those against, no. Declare it carried. Next item I've got here is 10.8. Not sure who pulled that out. Accessible beaches. Oh, Councillor Douglas.
Just one amendment to that recommendation, and I just also should also start by thanking the very thorough work that council staff have done on this notice of motion. I think it's heading in a fantastic direction, actually even more thorough than I could have imagined. So thank you. But I just wanted to add one aspect to that, which to the office recommendation that the original motion mentioned an increase in publicity of the existing asset, which is the sandproof wheelchair. If that actually wasn't directly addressed in the foreseeable future within the report, and I was hoping that we could add in that the Bayside Council newsletter and social media do some promotion over the existing facility for this summer to enable more community access whilst we complete the rest of the recommendation.
Yep, that will be done. Yep, it's second by Councillor Morrissey. Any other speakers? Oh, Councillor Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. Can I just clarify through the officer? Council received the wheelchair, which is housed in the Ramsgate Lifesaving Club. Who owns the asset?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it was donated to council, so council owns the asset.
So, and we gave it to, like, firstly, yeah, it's a great report and I'm looking forward to the audit. We just got to get some use out of the chair. If we've got a council asset that's for this community, we need to use it. And for a couple of hours on a Sunday morning is not, like, we're in the season now. It's hot now. The beaches are open now. So if we wait for a report to come through and an audit, and it's great if we're supporting a charity to give us an audit, accessibility, tick, all the boxes are ticked. But we've got a council asset that was donated to us that we're not using because we haven't got the resourcing and we're relying potentially on volunteers to do that. We have got a summer foreshore program. So how would we go about adding some visibility to this asset with people, even if there's some visibility so that we can create some awareness along the foreshore? How can we get this into the current summer foreshore program now for this season? Right, because it's been since 2020, COVID I not everyone went to the beach, but it's now 3 years later, and I stand corrected if I am wrong, but I haven't seen it on the beach. I haven't seen any photos of it, promotions, people using it, inquiries, bookings. I don't know how it all works, and I think it's such a valuable asset for the beach, and we need to come up with a plan to get it on the sand now.
Yep, Deborah. Oh.
Through you, Mayor, certainly we can promote the existence of the chair through the existing summer foreshore program. We can distribute information to the community through our beach bags that we distribute using our beach buddies in the summer foreshore program. And we could also undertake some promotion of it on social media. So it's not a problem to do that while we investigate further the better use for it.
Thank you. And as I said, I haven't actually seen the chair. Is this one that's a chair that's suitable for the water that requires a mat, or is it got the wheels on it that can be wheeled onto the sand? Sorry, Councillor Ballard, did you wish to say something? Because I've got the floor. I don't know what you're saying. Well, like I'm asking a reasonable question. We don't need all this stuff going on in the background constantly. It's a serious question. I think it's very fair. I'm not being aggressive. I'm asking how we can use it, a council asset for the community. I don't know what the comment is always on the side.
Through you, Mayor, I have the manager of Community Life on the line, Riley Parham, and she would be able to answer that question for you in detail.
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, it's my understanding I too have never seen this chair, and I too have been undertaking to understand exactly where this chair is and how people can go about getting it. My understanding from having seen images, which we have stored on file, is that the chair can be used independently on the beach. It does have large wheels. It doesn't need to have a mat to enable access onto the beach. The question is, where is this chair?
So it's interesting, we've got council officers asking where a council asset is. That's really concerning, and I think as a team we need to get better, guys. We don't know where a council asset is. We don't know who's got control of it. We've got an association with the Lifesaving Club through, I don't want to say the line here, but we've got a wheelchair that no one sees, no one knows where it is, or how to use it, or how to get on the beach, if we can go in the water, if it can't, if it needs a mat or not. We don't know anything about this chair, yet we're going to do a beach audit that's going to give us a report in 3 months' time to figure out how we can use it. Like, a chair, we don't even, does it exist? This is like I'm lost for words a little bit. I'll keep going though, hold on.
Through you, Mayor. Councillor Souness is not in attendance tonight. Councillor Souness had spoken previously about the use of the chair. He has possession of the chair, is my understanding, at the Ramsgate Lifesaving Club, and he was going to make the chair available on the weekends when the club is in operation. So I'm sure I'll go down tomorrow and find the chair.
Okay, and when we provided that chair to help the Lifesaving Club thrive and access another part of the community, was there anything in writing to say that we'll give you this council asset and you've got to care for it and store it and make it available, or was it a handshake agreement to say that you can wheel it out whenever you feel like it?
Councillor Morrissey, we'll take that question on notice and we'll come back to you all via email in the next day or so.
All right, thank you.
Can I just ask, in terms of the point 2, is there any way that council could particularly target homes for elderly and also the Cairnsfoot School to provide information about the accessibility of the chair? Because I know that there are institutions that would, you know, if there was a flyer up or something in their notice boards for homes for the elderly or at Cairnsfoot, that we might get more uptake then in particular. Could we add that to the recommendation, that we also particularly target nursing homes and Cairnsfoot School for publicity?
Oh, I'm told that, yes, that will
Thank you.
once we find it.
Okay, so I'm still going to go. So can I add number 3? That council be provided with a status, be provided with a report on where the chair is and how it is used and when it can be used at the next council meeting. No, it's summer now. The beach is open now. We've talked about the chair for since 2020. I remember talking about it in 2020. I still haven't seen it. Yeah. Well, if it's in his car, then we need to provide a report on it.
I will tell you where it is. It is in the Lifesaving Club at Ramsgate. It has to be housed in a facility. It has to be used, say at Ramsgate, it could be at Brighton, but it's got to be, you can't just use it in Botany Bay. You have to be able to use it in a safe area, a netted area. So it's not as though you can, I'll just take it and I'll wander off. I'll go to Kiama with it and I'll have a swim and the sharks might take me because there's sharks in the bay. And so it is there, it is okay, you might have to publicise it. I call it a 4-wheel drive chair because it's got very big wheels, donated by the school in Marshall Street, the Special Disability School. So it is around and it seems a bit pointless and it's, yes, maybe it needs, it's a bit hard to work out how, yeah, it's got big wheels, yeah. With those hats in. But all I'm saying is, it's very, it might be funny to be funny, but it is, will be difficult because you can't just leave it there for someone to, I'll go for a ride on and go for a swim, it'd be stolen. So it actually has to have some sort of methodology to be able to be used. And maybe you do it on Sunday, but you have to have it in a netted area. You can't just go, oh, well, I'll just go up the road a bit because there's no people there. No, I'm talking about going to the bay. It's dangerous. It is an extremely dangerous bay unless you know exactly where you are. At Brighton, there's some serious drops. I don't swim there. I don't, as I said before, I don't go near surf. I go still water. I don't do that anymore. But what I'm saying is I'm clarified. You know where it is. Yes, it maybe needs to be organised somehow. I don't know how you're going to do it because you can't. You have to keep it under lock and key. You can't have it stolen. So anyway,
Andrew, can we table that? Look, councillors, in relation to point 3, look, the director and the GM will come back to us within, I don't know, within a week, rather than wait for a council report, which is in a month's time. So if you're in agreement, an email will be sent around, yeah, rather than a report. Well, we've got it here. Where it currently is, yeah, Councillor McDougall.
Can I also just ask, and perhaps with Councillor Morrissey's permission, it could be added to point 2. But how was the decision? Like, when was the decision made to house this at the Ramsgate Lifesaving Club? Was there? I might just have a bad memory of 2020, but was there a decision of council? That would be very good to know. Well, if you donated to council, anyway, can we find out how it wanted? Where the decision was made for council to do this, because I mean, I just think preferably it would be available more than a few hours a week. You know, with all appreciation for Ramsgate Lifesaving Club providing it at all, which I think is great, but perhaps we could try and do better.
Well, the staff have indicated to me where it is, so, but we'll in the next week, there'll be an email sent around with an updated the location and what arrangements we're going to have. No, what I'm saying, why wait, Councillor McDill, why wait a month when this can be sorted out within a week? I've been given a photo of the recipient of within the next week. Yeah, that's achievable. It's just clarification because the photo I've been shown indicates to me where it's located. Yep, that's it there. That's real. That's real. Yep. All right, councillors, we're all clear on what's been suggested and moved. So I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. 10.10, Climate Summit to Local Government 2023. Councillor Douglas.
Oh, sorry, you're going to get sick of hearing my voice. I pulled this one out because after discussion with the General Manager, there was a lot in here, this Climate Summit in Melbourne, and it was 3 days. It was a very, very in-depth look at what council needs to be doing from a legal and practical perspective on climate. And there's one thing I wanted to pull out in particular here, which was around risk and governance and the Risk and Governance Committee, whether or not we have general principles in there to consider climate impacts in our risk and governance framework. That's a question through the chair.
Oh, Pastor. Oh, Councillor Douglas, do I have a second?
Correct.
Councillor Wyatt? Yep.
My understanding is we also have an audit and risk committee, held during the day. I also wondered if we have that, if we have, climate as part of the general principles for the audit and risk committee.
Pastor? Are you happy with the reply?
Yeah, I am reasonably happy with the reply, although I think that the local government climate summit really
Alright.
pushed that we need to make this a very much clearer front of mind priority in terms of, considering new developments, considering all sorts of things. And I haven't seen it come up clearly in terms of our risk matrix framework in our, environment and planning subcommittee, for instance. So I don't have a recommendation. I just wanted to raise this on the floor as a point of notice that we could come back to and look at with sort of some clear steps forward. Yep.
All right, no problems. Yep, that will happen.
Sorry,
Councillor
Councillor
Morris.
Douglas may wish to request that be added to it as an agenda item for discussion with the Audit Risk Committee next time. And they've got a chair. It's not, there's an independent chair, independent matters, but perhaps that could be added as an agenda item for initial discussion when they next meet. Maybe you'd like to move that?
What he said.
Yep.
Can we do that? That the council add a risk framework to the general principles of the Audit and Risk Committee to be discussed on the agenda at the next meeting of that committee.
Yep. They just added it on now.
Sorry,
Councillor
can you just clarify what framework it is so that it's written in the amendment?
Well, it's a climate change framework to the general principles of the Risk and Audit Committee. So there were 4 points in the report that I could flesh out there. That council has number point 1. I'm not sure if they're ready for this.
So
There was 4 particular points that they suggested as part of those general principles. The first one being due care. The second being informed decisions. The third being manage risk. And the 4 being accountable for public money.
All right, that
Manage
clarifies it.
risk. Yeah.
All right. Okay, any other speakers? If not, I'll put it. All in favour, say aye. Those against, no. Declare it carried.
Excuse
Next
me.
item is 10.15, the progress report on council notices of motion.
Excuse me, Mayor, can I ask for a stop, revive and survive break? We've been going for 2 hours,
All right.
if that's possible.
Yeah, let's have a break for 5 minutes. Yeah, all right. The item is 10.15, which is a progress report on council notice of motions.
Sorry, that was me again. Just on there is a update on the Bayside Library strategy and draft Bayside Library plan that says it's went ahead at the last council
Can we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Councillor Jansen.
It just it says that it's got a passed and approved, but it doesn't say in the progress report, but it doesn't mention point 5 that we added on the floor still needs to be acted upon, that a report be brought back to the relevant committee about options for the Brighton Sands Library as part of the community hub and a communication plan for the future of the building be provided. Just want to make sure that's not lost as an action, that we don't think that we've put that strategy to bed. Can we?
No, it's definitely not lost.
Okay. Can we make sure that's just added back into that table?
I'll just get the director to share her views, what she said.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We don't put every detail of every resolution into the notice of motion report. It's just anything that is resolved by council will be included in the response. So it doesn't need to be itemised.
My confusion, and I understand that it says a completion status. It was presented and endorsed by council, but there is an ongoing action. I guess is the secondary point. And to that effect, I also consulted with the general manager about that action, presenting a time period for that action, which we looked at. I think was sometime in 24, 25. If we could potentially add that into the report. Yeah, thank you.
Well, okay. All right, I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Moving along, I've got CPE 23.029, which is the concept design, Uncle to Barton Riverine Park pedestrians cycle link.
That was me again. So my recollection from that subcommittee, that meeting, was that we talked about an extension of the design.
Could someone could second Councillor Douglas, Councillor Jansen? CP 23.029.
Not this one. My understanding from the meeting was that we discussed an extension of the design to include the edges that met up with Banksia Station and Riverine Park, and that was going to be brought back to us before we brought it to council. I've got some nods in the room. It just doesn't seem that that's reflected in the minutes from the meeting or in this at this time.
I stand to be corrected. I think it was raised, but the issue was the highway. But I'm not sure which stuff. And Mr. Barber.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there was some discussion at the committee about extending it to the route to Banksia Station and to Arncliffe Station, just to get those connections. We're happy to take that on board in the project, but it's not captured in the minutes. We can still pursue that, or you could have that included if you prefer.
Yes, it was also my recollection that was discussed, but I believed that was being noted by the director at the time, but I'm happy for that to go in the minutes so it's on record. So I think it was that council looks at a extended, was it an extended footprint for the cycleways through to Banksia Station and Arncliffe Station.
And Riverine Park.
Are you happy with what has been? Okay. Any other speakers? If not, I'll put it all in favour. So aye. Those against no, declare carried. Next one I've got is BT C23.128.
Sorry, there's something missing from the.
Okay, we'll deal with the Riverside Drive first, and then we'll go back to one that doesn't appear.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry, the Riverside Drive, I just wanted to, I just wanted to appreciate the process that this has gone through to get to this permanent restrictions between 9 and 5 a.m. 7 days a week after this trial report has been brought back from Riverside Drive, San Susie. I think my fellow councillors in Ward 5 will like me be,
Councillor Douglas, just,
Yep.
anyone who's seconding it? Councillor Sedgwick?
I think
Right, yep, that's.
I just
you
wanted to
continue.
notice for the community that might be tuning in, and also to our fellow councillors, that we've all, and Steve Camper's office as well, working with police, we've all worked very hard to get this no stopping zone. I know it's not the be all and end all. We're also looking at license plate recognition cameras there in order to increase the penalties for people who breach that restriction. I also know that there's been a lot of extra police activity there, which has also meant that the activity has reduced to somewhat, and we are doing more in the area. But I think it's worth pulling out and just noticing and noting what a big amount of work that this has been to try and tackle this issue on Riverside Drive. And I want to thank, my fellow councillors, Steve Camper and the staff and the police for actually coming together on this solution.
Councillor Sedgwick?
I want to quickly concur with Councillor Douglas. This is a positive step forward. There's no doubt Riverside Drive. And I want to thank the General Manager, our previous Mayor, as well as our current Mayor, in regards to really, these signs would be nothing. As we know, we get cops down there every few weeks. It will be nothing with those LPR cameras. So putting those LPR cameras, working with these signs is going to be amazing. I know the consultation process for the LPR camera consultation is finishing on Friday. And it's great to see that this is working hand in hand. And I also know that just across the road from the Riverside Drive in Scott Park, we're also looking at the no stopping there, which is great. That's excellent that we've put that forward on the map. So not only will we have no stopping, LPR cameras, and also hopefully a handful of speed humps, I think this is going to be great for that Ward 5 southern section, in particular San Susie and Riverside Drive. And I do want to thank my other fellow Ward 5 councillors and everyone involved, because this has been a team effort. People have put this on the agenda time and time again. Previous council, previous Ward 5 councillors. So I just want to thank everybody, the staff, amazing effort. We're looking forward to some change. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other speakers?
But we really have to thank the former councillor James McDonald for even finding out about LPR cameras. He is the one that instigated it, and I believe that he has to be acknowledged each time. And I believe that, I know it's nice to say we're going to put this in and that in. No, you should be saying to the residents, we are suggesting that these items go to Traffic Committee, because they make the decision. We make the decision after the experts look at the area. So don't raise false hopes about, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. It has to go, be investigated, and has to go to traffic before it comes to us.
I just, through you, Mr. Mayor, excellent point. It already has. Well done, Councillor Barlow.
All right, I'll put it all in favour, so aye. Those against no, declare it carried. There's one item, CPE 23.030. Councillor Douglas?
Yeah, it was missing on the summary sheet, but also when I referred to the minutes, there's also, we did ask at the meeting that they consult with the motion that we put forward as a council to the ALGA conference in regard to bus shelters. And that doesn't seem to have been noted, and there was no attachment to check that that's actually been done. Oh, no, it is there. Oh, sorry. My bad.
All right, so you're moving the recommendation.
Yeah,
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jensen, I'll put it all in favour, so aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Oops, sorry. That's it. That's the next one. Yep, now we're on to notice of motions. We've dealt with 12.1. Okay, now we're on 12.2, notice of motion. Petition to protect the fig tree at Alfred Street, San Susie. Oh, okay, yep, okay. All right, if I can have someone move it, which is the Barton Park, moved by Councillor Sedrak. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Jansen. Any speakers? If not, I'll put it. All in favour say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. If we can ask the two councillors to come back in. Okay. Now we're on notice of motions, which is 12.2. Petition to protect the fig tree at Alfred Street, San Susie, moved by Councillor Douglas. It's moved by Councillor Douglas, seconded by Councillor Sedrak. Councillors, just for information, the General Manager and I met the CEO of Sydney Water and two of his senior people of Sydney Water, and it was a very positive meeting. They're going to look at options in terms of the tree. We've indicated to them, well, I certainly indicated to them that we would like the tree to remain. Hopefully they'll come back to us soon in relation to whatever solution they're going to come up with to save the tree. So I open it to if the council wants to speak.
Thank you. I won't take too long. I know we're all tired. But I wanted to bring this motion to council to respond to both the immediate need of protecting this giant tree in Ramsgate Beach, but also to find a positive way for us to work towards a greener, more livable bayside. Trees provide us lots of health and economic benefits, and currently we have the lowest tree canopy in any LGA in New South Wales, partly because of the airport, but that does mean we have extra heavy lifting to do in Bayside. So some of the health benefits from trees are that they purify our air, which helps with our respiratory health and overall well-being. They provide a calming influence, which has been linked to reduced stress and overall well-being as well. If we don't have enough trees, our city becomes hotter. Asphalt and concrete absorb heat, creating what is known as an urban heat island effect. Trees provide shade and lower temperatures, making our community more comfortable during hot summer days. They also absorb carbon dioxide and help mitigate against climate change, which also contributes to global warming. In terms of environmental and economic benefits, they are placemakers. They add beauty and charm to our urban landscape. Their absence can make the community feel drab and uninspiring. They create places, gathering spots where we come together for picnics, for play, or simply for conversation. Without these trees, we miss out on these social opportunities. And that's particularly relevant to this tree as well at Ramsgate Beach, which is situated in a very convivial alfresco outdoor eating area. They also save us money because they help with energy costs by providing shade in summer. They act as windbreaks in winter, so they reduce the need for cooling and heating, and that means more money in our pockets. Without trees, rainwater can also lead to flooding and erosion and water pollution, and trees help absorb and slow downfall from these rainfalls, preserving our local council infrastructure. And of course, they're also a home for a variety of other creatures, from birds to insects. So when we have trees in our community, we have a sanctuary for biodiversity as well. So I would really like the other councillors to support this motion to look into, to have councillor input into the development of the framework for the Bayside Significant Tree Register, but also that we note the petition from our community to save this particular tree at Alfred Street, Ramsgate Beach, and that we write to Sydney Water supporting the request to retain and manage that tree based on its significant values using the council's draft criteria for the Bayside Significant Tree Register.
Okay. Councillor Curry.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we always get labelled with the worst tree canopy in Sydney. It is not true. If you look at the methodology that whoever does this is using, it does not take into account our unique geographical location and landscape. We have an airport, we have numerous industrial. So I would like to have on the record, let's find out, can we, before we, while we're doing this significant tree register or wherever it fits, who is deciding on the tree canopy? What is the methodology that they're using? Because I'm sick of Bayside having that label, because it's not true, because in the area where I live, there's trees everywhere. In most of our residential streets and parks, there's trees everywhere. So what is it? Why have we got this label? And I want to get rid of it, please.
I agree, 1,000,000%.
Mr Mayor,
Yeah,
sorry,
Councillor Hannah.
could I suggest a root and branch review? If I could also make the comment, just coming back to that fig tree, which I do know relatively well, because when I swim down there, I park in Alfred Street, and it is a very significant tree. So I'm assuming Sydney Water is going to look at various engineering solutions to try and be able to retain it, which is
Yes.
great. One thing I do want to point out to council is that once they make their decision, if their decision is to engineer a solution around that tree, there is a very significant uplift in the road caused by a root or roots of that tree. So we do, what it's actually provided free of charge is a speed hump. Now, no, I'm not joking. It has provided.
true.
I don't know whether you've noticed. Yeah, so I don't know whether you've noticed it, but it has provided this council free of charge a speed hump. Unfortunately, it's not particularly well located, and it's not necessarily needed there. So what I'm suggesting is, from a practical perspective, once Sydney Water comes back, hopefully with their engineering solution, which will retain the tree, once they finish their work, or perhaps as part of their work, they might be able to do something about that route that's uplifted the road and provided a speed hump where it's not really necessary. Or perhaps we can turn it into a speed hump and retain it. I don't know. I just wanted to raise that. Thank you,
That's
Mr.
a good
Mayor.
point. Can we incorporate, sorry, Councillor, in relation to what Councillor Curry has said, because I'm constantly not harassed but questioned on why we're last. You know, all right, so I don't know who I just spoke to the general manager. I'm not sure who comes up with this. I'll get the manager environment. Yep. We should challenge it.
I mean, I could suggest that potentially at a point 4, which is that Bayside Council do a calculation of the tree canopy, removing the airport in that cap.
Industrial, golf course.
We already
Yeah.
have that figure. Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
so-
Tom, yeah.
So-
Councillors,
So through the chair, the latest figure we have and what we doing the desktop study right now is from the Department of Planning and Environment, and the latest data they just provide to us last week, and they have to release the whole data because we try to push them that Bayside need the data immediately for our urban forest strategy, and we got our officer working on the data, which is an aerial photo, and the preliminary information we got. If we include everything, include the waterway, airport, we're sitting about 11%, but we exclude airport, the waterway, and the port, which is the Putney Port, we're sitting about 15% of the tree canopy cover. And compared to Randwick sitting around 16%, Georgia River about 18%. So it means that we're not really that low. We kind of like close there.
So,
Yep.
thank you. So, Mr Mayor, then can we get that out, like once that's confirmed, you know, I think we have to go out with some messaging around that as well, because, and get that out of, that rhetoric out of the media.
Councillor Jensen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can I just ask Hong whether you excluded all of the Orica sites as well, because that would be significant too.
In the data we did, we're doing right now, we cannot exclude that area because there's still some street with the tree there, so we need to include that as part of our, even though we don't have control in that, and we classify that section become a private land, that council doesn't have the control. But because we only can exclude the waterway and the airport, which is that part of the research, as well as the port where you have a lot of concrete part for the in the port. So that's where we can exclude it as part of our research.
That's there's hectares of land there that needs to be excluded. But whilst you're up there, Mr. Mayor, can I ask whether does the urban forest strategy incorporate the significant tree register? Is that part of that forest strategy?
Yeah, that's part of the strategy, and it's become one action of the strategy. And we also, tomorrow, I will present to the executive team the whole procedure and the significant tree criteria, as well as how we manage significant trees with the executive tomorrow before we go to council.
All right. Thank you. Yep.
Sorry, the data in relation to Bayside's tree canopy be reported back to the next relevant committee meeting.
Yep. No, whatever the data. Yeah, yep. Right, good point, Councillor Curry. Councillor Barlow?
Yeah, that's really good, because we have been bagged, personally myself, quite often on Facebook, and I always come back and say, we've got an airport, we've got this. They don't care. They just want to bag council, like we get continually. And the issue is, I mean, my neighbour has lost two 40-year-old trees, but we had to take them out. They're completely dead. They were two callistemons, and they were 40, and we've been there 42 years. So maybe 40 years ago. So they all have a life. That's part of the problem. There's a fig tree on the way to Rockdale Plaza, and I said, oh, the branch is broken, or the huge limb, and all I could know was that Tracy Maroney said, that belongs to Sydney Water, and I went, well, that's lucky, because it's very expensive to get rid of. So they all have a life, and that's part of the problem. You've got to look to the future. Look at the trees that died in Rockdale Park and how badly council was attacked on that. And it was not our fault. But also, when you go to the park, you can't even see where they're missing. It was actually too densely planted. So the issue is, it'd be great to be able to say we're not the lowest tree canopy. It'd be fantastic. And I always said we weren't, but you've got people there that'll bag the life out of council at any cost.
Councillor Morris?
So it doesn't need to be added to the to item 4, but just for the manager, if you could, as part of that report, just provide an estimate, because to exclude the Botany Industrial Park, because that is a significant area, and there's a rail corridor through that as well, and there's the old, I won't say the company names, but there's chemical plants and all sorts of stuff there. So just that, I know it's not official, but if we are at, I think you said, was it 14%, 15%, that's indicative at the moment. If we could also get just an estimate, like a Bayside Council estimate on if we exclude that, what that increases to, and I'd be highly confident will be then comparable directly with our neighbours, because that's a big area. I know it's privately owned land. It's a big area to exclude, though. That does impact the canopy. just an estimate in the report, and then that can form part of our messaging. Thank you.
Yep. Councillor Douglas, want to reply?
Yeah, I just want to also thank the council staff for the amazing work that they've been doing on the urban forest strategy, because I really noticed the difference in my local community. A lot of native plantings. It's really looking amazing, and the amount of work done even just in this term of council, I feel very proud of what the staff and the council have been able to achieve on this matter. So I think if we can protect this tree in particular that is so valued by the community, there'll be a series of really good news stories coming to Bayside Council around the increase in our green spaces. Thank you.
Right, thank you. That closes the debate. I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. Okay, next one is 12.3. Moved by Councillor Curry, seconded by Councillor Morrissey. Any speakers? Councillor Curry?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I think it's important that we preserve our history. There's a lot of history across Bayside, and we've got the beautiful town hall in Botany Bay, which we've really revitalised, and there's a lot of things there. And our residents are really loving it. It's the opportunity to go into the chamber, and it's got the beautiful old 100-year-old mayoral chair there. But I worry about people sit on it, and so if we can sort of encase it in some sort of perspex or something, that then it's, you know, well protected, because it really is like an amazing piece of history. And also I think, you know, it's important with our joint history as well to display the mayoral chains. And there's it's been brought to my attention by some residents. There was the City of Botany Bay mayoral chains, but there was also prior to that the Botany municipality chains as well. So they should be somewhere. So I think as part of so yeah, it would be great if again they could also be just displayed in the chamber there for generations as we as more find the chains.
No, that's a good point. Yep. Any other speakers? If not, I'll put it all in favour, say aye. Those against no, declare it carried. 12.4, notice of motion renaming Hensley Field Grandstand. Moved by Councillor Curry, seconded by Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Curry?
Look, thank you. Councillors, you might recall earlier in the year where we recognised the passing of Tony Basilio OAM, who had run Botany Little Athletics for 50 years as a volunteer, and coached thousands of local children. And following his passing, a number of community, wanted his contribution recognised in some way. And so with consultation with his family, I'm proposing that on the grandstand there, Amelia, there's room sort of at the back of the grandstand that we name the grandstand after him for his 50 years of service.
All right, Councillor Hannah.
Just a question through you, Mr. Mayor. I take it that the grandstand doesn't have a name at the moment. No. So we're actually not renaming it, we're naming it. That the council names the Hensley Field Grandstand.
Yes,
We're not renaming it. The ground, so you might want to just, thanks.
Yeah, we got it. All right, I'll put it all in favour, side. Those against no, declare it carried. Okay, next item is the notice of motion, 12.5, Councillor Jensen, Mascot Library hours. Moved by Councillor Jensen, seconded by Councillor Fardell. Councillor Jensen.
Thank you, Mayor. So this notice of motion has come as a result of some requests from residents who have said that they cannot access the library during the week because we are seeing increasing demographics of working families in Mascot with young families or with young children who, these are working families. So they've requested Saturday openings. Furthermore, this library branch houses our only memorial museum. So currently I think that extended weekend hours, limited hours on a Saturday potentially could benefit with the additional visitation to these exhibitions, given that the current and the last exhibition are really of exceptional quality. So I think that some hours open on a Saturday would allow for more visitation. The library used to be open on Saturdays, so you can still see the signage scribbled out on the door that so a lot of people kind of come up and may assume that it could be open. So the area around the library in Mascot Retail Precinct is particularly busy on a Saturday morning, and I think with increased wayfinding signage, I believe that the Saturday hours could work, and so this motion calls for a trial of those hours. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Any other speakers? Oh, Councillor. Good pick up. Right, good pick up. Any other speakers? If not, I'll put it all in favour, so aye. Those against, no, declare it carried. Questions with notice? If there have been any submitted?
Mr. Mayor, I just got a quick question. Just in regard to the chains of botany, just this could be a quick one. What about the Rockdale chains? Are they downstairs, upstairs? Where are they, and are they displayed?
I think in the back of my house.
Down there, just down the corridor here. Just down the corridor.
All right. Yep. All right. Questions of notice, councillors, any? Okay. If not, I declare the meeting closed.